this Earthshaker, for example, isn't going to get off a full combo onto all of your heroes either.
Yeah, so I wonder if they're gonna keep the Void Spirit here for Shuan. Will they switch it up? Will they go to something different? Because when I saw the Venomancer and we talked about how it takes away the refraction charges, when I think of someone like that, I do think Kunkka as well. So it's like, would you have wanted that more? You can get rid of the refraction, you can have that extra control. And this time around, they're going to put XSS on the Mars, and then SAG. Now they're looking at a Pangolier that potentially, I've seen it once in a while in the safe lane, but most likely there for OP.
It's potentially for OP. We see a lot more teams running it in the 4 role as well, and we've seen that Sparking Arrow, they're not shy about putting a unconventional hero in that 3 role. Like Earthshaker isn't always there. It's not to say he can't play as a 3, but it's the same sort of situation with both the Phoenix and the Treant Protector. They're both perfectly viable there. So still leaving their draft somewhat open, and you would have to say it's essentially only the POS 1 that's remaining on Sparking Arrow. I'm liking the fact that Aster's gone into this Mars. We've seen it drop off a little bit, but I feel like it's still very strong at pushing out. You can clear waves really quickly. You've got some good team fight control. You take away some of that potential from Sparking Arrow to pick it up. And yeah, even a Morphling's pretty damn handy. There's a lot of stuff that you can steal that's pretty good if you just morph into basically anything except the Treant Protector.
Yeah, well, they've got the Morphling now. I was actually just about to say their draft is kind of versatile, with Void Spirit potentially being a 4, or Nature's Prophet being a 5 or a 4 or anything. Like, those are 2 heroes that have found their way into some versatility. But now with this Morphling, maybe to me, it looks more like Void Spirit could be the 2, Mars 3, Morphling 1. But again, I mean, still versatile, still open. I'm interested to see what they're going to do. I don't think it would have been Windrunner, but maybe SAG know more than I do against Aster. I would assume they do, because they play these teams all the time, and they're way more research than me, I would assume.
I want to see where they throw this Mars too, right? Because it's not a terrible matchup against the TA. I mean, at the end of the day, she is a ranged core, and so you're going to get a lot of that damage redirection through the bulwark, and it can kind of throw off some of her last hitting potential. I suppose with the Psyblades, it's not quite as big a deal as something like, I don't know, a Gyrocopter or a Drow or a Terrorblade or things of that nature, but it still could potentially throw a... I was going to say a wrench, but we call it a spanner here in Australia in the works.
I think I maybe have heard that word once other than this, and that was because we had a counselor at the summer camp I used to work at, a couple of them from Australia. So I've once learned the vocab, but have forgotten it.
There's too much to remember, that's for sure.
10 seconds remaining.
I can try and sneak some into the cast if you want me to.
I would be down with that. You don't have to keep it, North American here.
All right. We are a global family here.
Yeah, exactly. Bring in the vocab. Bring in the sayings. I'm a big fan.
All right. Will do. I've been playing a bit of Codenames with people from North America and Europe lately, and I've said a few words or given a few clues, and people are like, what the hell does that mean? Or they say, like... Because, like, a biscuit here is like a cookie is in North America.
Yeah.
And a biscuit is like 2-piece in a biscuit, right? It's like a... I guess you would call it like a scone, kind of, a little bit. But, well, they're going with the AM again. I mean, they're clearly comfortable with this core duo.
Yeah, again, if TA has that kind of game, like, you can only expect that it's going to go the same way. And TA is certainly one of those heroes that can not only snowball very quickly, but can recover really well. So it's never a TA that's down and out. I think maybe the recovery would be a little bit harder with an anti-mage who wants to take over the game, but still definitely a potential there.
This time it's Bkop playing the Nature's Prophet, so we'll see how they go with changing up a bit of the farm priority there. I'm assuming that he's not going to go a Blade Mail this time around. And XXS again, he went mid last time. See if that is the go again this time around, or if they're going to give, a bit more of the comfort style. Because, as much as these players are versatile, you've got a role, and you were picked to play on this team because you're great in that role. So you can't be shifting up the game too much.
Is Marana coming in too? Kaka is a big fan of this. I know that it's kind of picked up in China. I would say there's few teams that really go to it. We'll see how Fade does with it and how mobile they're going to be. Again, lockdown-wise, I think things look better for Aster. They have the spear. They have the arena. You know, you've got potentially the arrow. I think the setup's certainly there with an Aether Remnant into the arrow.
Yeah, they do have a fair amount of setup. It just feels like perhaps Sparking Arrow's draft is easier to execute because there's a lot of skill shots needed on Aster, and when you're competing at this level, you're not always going to get all of that off, right? Like, you can even do some silly things like Bkop pops the Sprout and then XXS spears people into it, right? Or you can Sprout a TA after she blinks and then you get the arrow on her because she's not going to build something like a Battle Fury or have Tangos at that stage, or even just a Quelling Blade, right? So you get that longer duration stun. But it just feels like there's a lot of ifs and maybe, or if this could happen, that is coming into the equation for Aster. But if it works, it'll work really well.
That's the thing. When you deal with ifs, sometimes it feels like it's a long way from being a potential, possibility. Looking at SAG, Overgrowth and Rolling Thunder to disrupt the fights, not really much else unless you want to count TA as 25 with the Meld Hit Bash and Supernova.
I mean, it feels like they're putting a lot of faith into this Supernova as well, right? Like, we've seen teams like Fnatic, they go a Phoenix Treant combo as well. I think they played it on Ice Ice Ice, though, instead of the position 5 roll, so it means that you can have this Phoenix just dive in, use a Supernova in a more risky position, and then when the follow-up comes, you've either got that Rolling Thunder or the Overgrowth just to disrupt a lot of that egg bursting potential. So that's another stun that's potentially coming through that they're... This is going to sound lame, putting all of their eggs in that basket.
Not lame at all. I'm a fan. They have a good amount of egg hitters, though, here for Aster. It's not going to be that easy. Your positioning seems like it's very, very, priority number 1 here. You can't just be going, all right, Supernova, that's fine. Wherever I put it, you need to be very particular about where you're going to Supernova in these fights, because if it's even slightly in range of a couple of these heroes, it's not going off.
Yeah, it is too true. Bobika's in a little bit of trouble here. I think even the Morphling might have dropped down if they had an Orb of Venom available on either this Pangolier or the Treant Protector, but he's going to be able to survive this time around, and they've just got the Anti-Mage on his own at this bottom side of the map for now. Trying to get the arrow in onto the range creep, but they should secure it anyway. We can see Red Panda's here. He wants to make sure he's down here on the bottom side of the map to be able to disrupt this large camp being available at that stage of the game. So going for the first blood, doesn't work out, and just resumes his regular supporting duties.
Yeah, so he's here in the Nature's Grasp. Most Treants skip Leech Seed for the most part.
Yeah, I think 1 point is okay in it, but it should come at level 8 or so.
You have no right.
So we'll see if that ends up being the case, and how Chuan's going to do here against DD. It was XSS in the previous game, now he's still on this Void Spirit. It was TA who had a very remarkable start, and that kind of just opened things up, especially God King too. He played aggressive. Is this a situation where he can play aggressive? It doesn't feel like it's a lane that really allows him to do what he did in the last one.
You can see here he's already forced to pop the salve. He's losing a couple of experience, trying some aggro tricks here to make sure he's not losing all too much, but that's 2 creeps that he's missed while standing underneath that tower.
So Panda hits that level 2, he'll have that living armor. Fade, how long is he going to stay? Because I think at some point XSS should be able to hold his own here.
Yeah, I think you just need to get him up those couple of early levels, and maybe once those power runes spawn at 4 minutes, that's when he's going to start to make his move, both to secure it for his lane as well as just realize that Exer says he's not going to go down solo at that stage.
Gosh, God's Rebuke. Really hitting him in the chest there. Feeling it.
Pretty handy. Was able to block off this 2-minute large camp as well, and gets the half pull onto the wave as well. So Red Panda is doing a good job supporting his anti-mage here, making sure the farm continues to be underneath this tier 1 tower, because he's out of regen already, even with that living armor starting to become a factor. I think you'll probably go and give him a shared tango in the near future.
Treant's body blocking Felix as he tries to drag the wave. Bkop doing what he can to keep up with Felix Chalba, who doesn't have anything off cooldown at the moment, but we'll drag the wave successfully and give it on over to OP. So happy with that one. He'll pop the salve, stay in lane, and things going okay in this top lane for SAG, but the drag's happening. He's only 9-2. Seems a little bit better for Juan on this start against the TA than XSS had, but of course there is a little bit more of a skirmish here at this point between the two. And well, actually not at this point, a couple minutes down the line, because DD did hit that 6 first. We'll see if the same kind of presents itself in this spot. But top, Bkop just able to TP away from the hands of Felix Chalba and OP.
I like that. The reason he was even in such a vulnerable position is that he'd gone for this cheeky large camp pull through this little gap in the trees below the tier 1 tower on the top side. So he was always going to be at risk of dying, but as a result it let SCCC farm a little bit more safely underneath his tower, grab that solo experience, and now he's a full level ahead of OP. SC might even go for the pull himself here, but let's see if Felix realizes what he's trying to do.
Also over mid, DD was able to grab the Invis rune. Schwan never got to refill his bottle. And he has the opportunity at the 5-minute mark, but this minute is certainly on the rocks. You can see DD, he's pressuring past the tier 1 tower and really doesn't want to give up the pressure on a Juan. Whoa. Red Panda, he's also here. Dissimulate, goes towards the tower. And that will be enough space between him and the Radiant side to stay alive. But this is now controlling the bounty runes for SAG.
Nicely done by them. I wasn't watching because I was looking at the top side. Did Fade actually end up making a rotation towards that those power runes at the 4-minute mark to try and secure the rune? Yeah, so I think perhaps that's a little bit of a mistake coming through from Aster, particularly when you've got this hero that's going to go for the bottle and is going to always have a hard time in lane against a TA. You need to make sure you're making it as easy
arrow
as
hits
possible for him.
onto the anti-mage, and God King, he's just able to blink out. They got the spear and the arrow, I believe, but just not the damage.
My thanks.
There we go. Red Panda finally gives over the first of his tangos over to this anti-mage, realizing, well, I'm probably not going to need him. I've been able to be pretty elusive thus far. But with that, and the living armor, and the salve, and the ring of health, I think God King's just going to be A-okay.
So going into the treads first, anti-mage, we'll see if he has that quick of a time. He got that Battle Fury at 15 minutes, I believe. Something around 12 or 15 minutes.
Something ridiculous.
That was a very, very quick Battle Fury. And, of course, SAG, they go on to win very easily and quickly. SCCC, though, only 30-9. But also, I guess I'm comparing that to the TA, who does have the ability to go to this camp and really clean it up very fast. So that's not exactly fair. But compared to the anti-mage, right on the same margin.
Yeah. I want to see what Felix does in the form of stacking these camps as well. He's been able to do a couple already, which is really nice. It's something that Liquid Tiger does really well in the EU region.
Good
and
arrow.
actually landed an arrow.
Yeah, that was a nice shot. They'll get the kill and the first blood on OP. Very well done there by Fade. First rotation, and that comes towards top. Again, we talked about how XSS should be pretty much safe in this lane. I don't really think he dies 1v1 against this anti-mage.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing all right in the form of his farm as well. I think he was basically, like, he was about 3.8k net worth at something like the 20-minute mark of the previous game, so he has to be pretty happy that he's getting closer and closer to that, and it's pre-10 minutes. And with that gank as well, it also disrupted Felix's capability to stack up these camps one additional time. They've scouted out the fact that it has been stacked with Bovika's treants, so maybe they're going to try and get a little bit more aggressive, although they don't really have the full potential to be able to, I suppose, farm it up quickly enough to make it worth their while.
They put some pressure over bottom on XSS, Nature's Grasp, as well as God King just hitting away. He does have that Mana Void to throw at XSS if they do feel the possibility of getting the kill. He's not level 6 yet, and well, he's doing okay. Survives the onslaught, continues on up against this anti-mage.
More stacks are happening.
I've got 2 stacks, 3, 4, and they've also got this camp stacked as well. So yeah, doing a pretty good job. Fade can only clean it up so quickly with the arrow. And they're looking at Fade for a second. The aggressive blink from God King, who has gone again back into the 4 points on blink. And top, Rolling Thunder comes out, and they claim the bounty. OP getting a little bit of revenge. Bkop ends up the one who goes down. They use that Rolling Thunder up towards top to even the kill score. And game still sitting about even, a little bit towards the Aster side. But I do worry, again, TA having a very, very good time.
Yeah, stacked up the Ancients for herself. She's going to take that, has the trap down, so that's going to do a little bit of additional damage. But man, God King, 3-man rotation, punishing him.
They bring everybody down here to slow down the anti-mage. And this is obviously the first time he has died in this series, and they'll slow him down a bit. But again, he's got the supporting cast of the TA, so this is good for Aster. They just need to keep it up, I think, for their chance to win this game.
I mean, I think this is great for Aster. The fact that they were able to take down this this tier 1 tower already at the 9.5 minute mark is immense. It kind of punishes the fact that you've gone this early point in the Leech Siege. You know, maybe if they had the extra point in the Nature's Grasp, you could push that wave out a little bit quicker. You can throw your body in the way and allow the rest of your team to make those rotations through to protect it. But now that that's gone, you have lost your tier 1 outpost. Granted, you've taken the one on the enemy side, so it's not a terrible loss. But those Ancients aren't completely free for you anymore.
God King rotates towards the top lane. They'll go with the Rolling Thunder. They'll look over at XSS. The blink forward from this anti-mage with the ulti used. So yes, he does die, but he gets one right on back.
Oh, all these stacks going to DD. Have a look at his net worth. It's just skyrocketing up ahead. He's still undecided about what item he's going to go. Maybe he wants to purchase up the Deso all in one hit, but I think it should be fairly obvious what he's trying to do. No, he actually goes the Blink Dagger, realizing the need to perhaps make a play happen now. Once Red Panda hits his level 6, he's farming this creep wave on the bottom side to make it happen, but in the meantime, they're going to lose a tier 1. This is really bad for a Treant lineup.
Now, losing these towers pretty quickly. He is level 6, holding that skill point, and yeah, there it is, finally coming in onto the overgrowth. They're gonna want to go for this combo. The question is, I guess when? Do they want to wait for the TA to get that Deso? Because it's truthfully not too far away. Like, yes, it's 2,700 gold away, but DD does that pretty quickly.
He does, maybe a bit less so now that all of your neutral stacks are gone, so it was good of him that he was able to farm it up before Aster started taking over their jungle a little bit more. Oh, baits out the meld a little bit there onto Fade. But, yeah, I mean, I feel like Red Panda is just sitting down here on the bottom side, not doing all that much. Like, 1 point in the Nature's Grasp, doesn't push waves out all that quickly, and if you're not able to defend these towers, there's not really all that much that Living Armor is good for.
An interesting exchange going on here as they'll look over at Fade. They were thinking about the Rolling Thunder. Fade now leaps one more time. Exorcist is coming in. He's got the Arena. They'll put the Supernova in between all these heroes, but the Rolling Thunder won't be enough. Overgrowth comes in a touch late. They'll get the kill on Felix Chaba as well as trading Fade. Bkop down, the second one to go down on the side of Aster. They look over as the spear hits on the DD. Slowing down this TA would be great for them, and XSS gets the kill. as SCCC, he makes the rotation in, and OP, he'll fall too. So a 3 for 2 that very much favors Aster taking out that TA. The entire time God King is still farming towards top, and he's just the Mithril Hammer away from the Battle Fury. But that is a good fight again from Aster.
It is, and it's a completely different story from game one, right? Like previously you had God King farming on this top side of the map, getting closer and closer to his BKB, and in return you were forcing heavy commitments from Aster and really only losing something like one support. So there, not only did they lose 2 supports and a core, but they also popped 2 long duration ultimates on the Tree Protector and the Phoenix for nothing, right? You could see what they were trying to do. I think the Overgrowth came out just after the egg went down, so it could have been a turnaround team fight for them, but just not being able to get in position quickly enough, and that's the result of losing these tier 1 towers, right? Aster are feeling so much more confident about just walking into the Radiant jungle.
And Felix Chaba, one of the things I said earlier was he needs to be kind of picky with where he'll put these supernovas down, because I think that positioning wasn't great, and it didn't need to be there. You have the Overgrowth to rely on to hold these heroes close to your supernovas. So he ends up putting it in between 3 heroes here, when I think, honestly, he could have gotten away with maybe putting it a little bit further back near the cliff, and an Overgrowth follows that up. I think that fight goes a way more in the favor of SAG, but at the end of the day, it's something that's really, really, like, has to be perfect from Felix.
Trent's still holding on to 1 skill point. I just think he should be maxing out his Nature's Grasp now. Like, the towers that you needed to keep desperately are gone. So now he puts another point into the Living Armor. Like, you just need to get this Blink Dagger ASAP so that next time this team fight comes around, you do have that Overgrowth right when the Supernova is popped.
Night Shadow, Felix on the run from Fade as well as XSS, but to bring in Bkop in, he'll Sunray, but not up into the ether, as well, he'll end up losing his life. Fade gets credit for that kill. Yeah, that is still, in my opinion, even if he did get caught there, not the most fair thing when you can just say goodbye to the map.
Pressure put onto this top side, and even with the maxed out Living Armor, there's really not all too much you can do about it. Like, it's a ton of armor and it's a decent amount of healing, but when you've got 4 heroes committing onto it,
oof, they found the Void Spirit and the Mana Void. They'll trade 1 for 1. OP gets credit for that, and God King, that'll push him ever so close to the Mithril Hammer. Finish off that Battle Fury.
okay. That's pretty worth it. The fact that they were able to get that and kill the courier that has the Yule Scepter on it is big, because obviously God King will be wanting to make a bit more of an impact in these team fights, and that's one of those more reliable ways to lock him down, considering the fact that, you know, you're just going to be able to counterspell out of any sort of... I guess they don't really have any targeted stuns, right? So I think this is still heavily going to be on XXS and his positioning here. And yeah, I'm liking this much more by Bkop as well. He's going into the mechanism, realizing that a Blade Mail on a support Prophet really isn't going to do all that much.
And giving the team a little bit more sustain, they don't have that Oracle to work with in terms of that sustainability in this game. Get that mech, hopefully soon. But God King, he's got the Battle Fury. And TA just a split second away from having this Desolator. This is 2 big items for SAG.
It is, and only 200 gold away from finishing that Blink as well from Red Panda. His farm is stalled a little bit because of the pressure being put onto the top and mid lanes, so it meant that God King had to TP down to that bottom side to get his farm, and of course, when you're position 5, you've got to give up that priority to your core. It just meant that his timing as well slowed down a fair amount, so he's trying to find farm wherever he can. Maybe DD is going to be kind enough to give this to him, but I probably would say no.
Morphling, meanwhile, going into the Manta style, has the Yasha with the ulti orb, so just a recipe away, just 300 gold. SCCC second on the net worth, in front of the Anti-Mage for now, and I wonder how long that'll last with the Battle Fury. But we'll see.
Oh, Nether Shawl's a really nice pickup if they're able to give it on to Felix here. Basically completely useful for him. All that magic potential prevents perhaps the burst before he's able to get off his supernova. And he's getting damn close to picking up a Spirit Vessel, so maybe they're just waiting for this trio of items to come out. Spirit Vessel, Blink Dagger, you've already got the Desolator on the TA, but perhaps even picking up something else to follow up. Start building towards the Blink Dagger, maybe.
So there's that Yules for Chuan, as they've got a touch more lockdown here. It doesn't actually
Red
require
Panda
a skill
should
shot.
finally be able to grab his Blink Dagger on this bottom side. Doesn't help if he missed last hits, but he'll be able to clean up the rest.
Blink Dagger for the Mars too, and that's gonna feel good. Have that Blink Initiation, have that arrow, Anti-Mage. Top taking a lot of damage. Fate comes in, lends the arrow, the Blink away. They've got the living armor, so God King will survive. Xuan maybe a little early with that tip. I think maybe they thought they had him dead to rights.
Alright, here we go. They're trying to make a play happen onto SCCC. Probably the hardest one to do it on, but while he's still got this Manta style off cooldown, it'd be the way to go.
Seems like it would need to start with potentially a Rolling Thunder, but walk through and the smoke gets broken. He's able to elude that gank.
Yeah. A lot of that information coming from those aggressive observer wards placed in the bottom lane there, so revealing the fact that, no one's shown here for a while, and you could be forgiven for... Oh, they smoke right underneath it.
That is one of those feelings that you're allowed to have as an observer / caster. It's like, they don't know that, but that was right on it. And it's usually, I feel like when you smoke, you're a bit more diligent about that. Throw a sentry down, make sure you're definitely not under an observer ward. But I think maybe a bit upset that they missed that gank on the onto the Morphling, sorry.
Yeah. Aster have popped their smoke, and they used it in their tri-camp, so feeling a little bit more confident about the fact that, well, we don't need to even pop down a sentry ward, but they're going to run face first into them.
They have the Moonlight Shadow to hide under. They go after the Anti-Mage. They've got him locked in the Aether Remnant. XSS is coming in, but there's the Rolling Thunder. That blasts up XSS. Now the Supernova in a much better spot this time around, but can they kill the egg? The Overgrowth comes through, and that's way better. They'll kill off XSS. They'll take out Fade. They look over at Boba to make it a third. Xuan now on the run. The trap hits. He's got an Aether Remnant down as well as the Astral Step to make some distance, but that is the combo you were looking for. There is what SAG were looking for in that bottom fight that they get here.
I mean, that's the thing that we saw, right? We were talking about in the draft, the ease of execution of both of these team fights. Once you've got a Blink Dagger, it's not that hard to get these sorts of things happening if you're SAG, right? Like, Treant Protector, he's gone this greedier start to the build, but it's eventually paid off for him, being able to just impact that team fight in that way. Honestly, the first one that they had in their own jungle probably would have gone a similar way if he just was able to pop that Overgrowth a tiny bit sooner, but just not having the movement speed, didn't have the Blink Dagger at the time, meant that it wasn't the case. But Aster, again, they're going to really need to be on point with all these skill shots and all this combination. It needs to be like a well-oiled machine, and right now it's kind of like a second-hand one that you get at the dealership.
You know, you're trying to save a little bit of money buying used. That money you save goes into repairs, and all of a sudden you regret getting a used car.
It goes into Sparking Arrow's bank account is where it's going right now. All that extra money.
So getting into the Sanjanyasha for God King.
Trying to posture himself quite aggressively on Qian. Again, he's going for this Ag Scepter, and if you remember from last game, it was basically only about another 6 or so minutes that the game had lasted. So the fact that they've still got 4 outer towers is some good news for them. But again, this TA, this anti-mage, they're going to be starting to create a little bit more havoc. Although God King certainly hasn't had the complete dominant game that he had in game number 1.
And he's deciding to go back into the Basher. Something that I thought maybe if the game, and you said too, if the game had lasted longer, it could have been problematic for him not having that Manta style and Void Spirit getting to that axe.
I suppose just feeling confident with the fact that his team is going to be able to create that amount of farm for him. He can afford to pick up the Basher. Might not go for the full Abyssal Blade. It's not quite as effective as the previous one. They've got a decent amount of lockdown. They've got some good bursts. So I feel like Basher, Manta, and then Abyssal might be the way to go for this AM.
And Anti-Mage, oh, look at Red Panda right there with the Overgrowth. The Arena comes through. They'll look to get the kill there onto this Mirana, who just escapes death. God King forced to blink away. They get the kill on the Fade finally, as I believe God King blinked back into that one. OP now on the run, but he's getting hit up hard from this Morphling, and SCCC will at least trade. That was an Overgrowth without the Supernova that time around. A good defensive Arena. Wrath of Nature comes in, and, well, things a little bit better that time around for Aster.
Getting very keen to take that sort of fight. I mean, Felix was basically next to the tier 3 tower in the mid lane, so there was no way he was going to be joining that fight. So, yeah, perhaps just feeling themselves a little bit, wanting to take full advantage of the fact that, well, we've got an Aegis for the next couple of minutes, and need to try and make something happen with it. They've still certainly got the timings to do that. 50 seconds left until Overgrowth, 20 seconds until Rolling Thunder's back available. They didn't pop all that much on Sparking Arrow's side, so they can just make a go of it again. Not the longest cooldown on the Aster ultimates, though, it has to be said. You can find XSS here. Ooh. Goes for the spear back towards the rest of his team, but able to dodge it out.
Very tense right now. 3K net worth lead for SAG. Basher almost finished for the Anti-Mage. This is, you know, again, another Anti-Mage where he's kind of getting out of control. Although this time around, SCCC is keeping up, and now he's into the Butterfly going BKB next.
Another smoke's coming through. God King, he needs to start moving a bit closer towards this team fight. Oh, this is the
Blink
great
with the Rolling
Supernova.
Thunder, Supernova, Overgrowth, all coming in. The Morphling, he's rooted up, but he's able to make himself an escape with the waveform. However, XSS and Juan are not as lucky. Again, it's just that combo, and with OP getting a Blink Dagger too, he started that Rolling Thunder on the high ground. When you've got that advanced vision like that, or that you know, the better vision in that situation, you do exactly what he did. Rolling Thunder with the blink is disgusting, especially when they're grouped up like that.
Yeah, they were on the high ground. They had the daytime vision for them as well. I think what Aster just needs to do is, if they hear that Rolling Thunder and it actually finishes, they just need to leave. They need to leave straight away and then re-engage, realizing that they won't have that Rolling Thunder, that second form of initiation. Because I feel like SCCC, he popped his Manta style a little bit too early, so he didn't have that capability to break out of it and start to punish that egg. But now, it's a level 2 Supernova, so it's going to take 8 attacks to destroy.
Oh no, Bkop. He's 10 levels behind God King, although Arrow with the spear, it was all a ruse, except they just don't have enough for it. He's invis under the shadow of Moonlight Shadow, of course, and Anti-Mage blinks in front of him, grabs a bounty rune, and then Bkop unwisely right-clicks him and then gets like second hit bash. And when you're
got this nice aggressive mango tree here, so it's looking pretty good this seasons for Sparking Arrow. Surprised Anti-Mage hasn't perhaps picked that up. Oh, Fade's gonna die.
OP right on it there with God King. Look at just how aggressive God King wants to be with not only where he's farming, but him and the team. How far forward they're playing. They're posturing past the river. And when you've got, you know, the minus armor and the ability to take these objectives, when you play across the river and you win a fight as they kill Bkop again, you can go right for these towers. And really put it to the, you know, pedal to the metal on that.
It's looking bad. I mean, the Dota Plus was thinking about an 80 or so % win probability prior to those couple of pickoffs, and now it's looking even worse for Aster. Not the way that you want to be starting your campaign in this. I mean, it's simple as like 2 series losses and you're out, right, with the GSL group stage?
Yeah, and your next opponent is either CDC, who have looked a lot more consistent, I'd say, recently. Of course, they've got Ame, or LGD if CDC manage the upset. Like, losing this series is not an easy road.
No, Absolutely not. I think that's always just the case with China, though, right? Like, doesn't matter, upper bracket, lower bracket, group stage, wherever. It's going to be a hard task to try and come back into things if you're at a disadvantage. And God King, he just continues to snowball this advantage for himself. He picks up the Fairy Fire, getting a little bit unlucky, it has to be said, with some of these neutral camps. But now that Abyssal's finished up, and he's slowly starting to build into the Manta style as well. So, I'm not ready to call GG just yet, but it's pretty damn close.
And SAG potentially a 2-0, which will ultimately lead to everybody going, is this the next Wings? Because that seems to happen every time a lesser-known Chinese team beats a more-known Chinese team. I'm expecting it, as it's one of my favorite things
again.
to see.
Illusion.
They want to make this fight happen right now. Ooh, he paints the rivers, so they kind of know where he is, which is interesting, but
People
they've
don't
got the
understand.
Manta illusions just pushing out. Oh, sorry, the illusion rune illusions pushing out.
Ooh, Abyssal, Bkop, he is not having a fun time. God King seems to have a tracker on him. Oh, gosh.
Magic thyself out of that.
It just feels like the way that Aster have not necessarily drafted, but itemized, doesn't give them a chance to be able to come back into this. Like, Chuyan, he's nearly got that Ags completed, finally. I think he's just got it now coming out to him. So hopefully his career doesn't get sniped. But even Fade, like, you're a position 4, and your first item after your boots was a Monkey King bar. You're a support at the end of the day, right? Like, you haven't made anything happen with it. Meanwhile, you've got DD and God King able to farm so much more effectively because you haven't gone these smaller, more pressure-oriented items.
God. MKB. That is an interesting pickup for a 4 position. Luckily, it's not the what I saw in the NA region the other day, the double Battle Fury Queen of Fame.
Oh, I saw that. Sammy Boy picking that one up, but I feel like that might have been a little bit of BM.
Maybe. That's what me and Jenkins were trying to decipher, because that was, well, he's now put it at 100% win rate, so if somebody's trying to ruin your pubs with that, blame Sammy Boy.
God King, he's going to get closer and closer to that level 25 as well, so it doesn't honestly matter which way he goes. You would think it's the counterspell resistance just to make sure that he's not going to die. But, yeah. It's looking pretty dire for Aster, no pun intended.
And definitely not looking good going back for that Manta style, just in case, of course, with the Ags on the Void Spirit, which he probably took a peek at. Yeah, I mean, very much favorable for SAG. 12,000 net worth lead. Maybe once upon a time felt like a mountain you could overcome, but certainly recently it seems like it's much harder. Like, the net worth feels like a 12,000 net worth lead these days. If that makes sense.
Well, Roche is up, but I think they just moonlighted over a couple of TA traps, so yeah.
Hex next for the TA. And then Morphling. Divine Rapier next for SCCC. So looking to go all in on that next item. But that is, as you can tell, with just the 70 gold, a pipe dream away.
6,000 gold away. Yeah, I think if that happens, sure, Aster are going to win this game. If he can get a Rapier, but it's not going to get to that stage, at least. Well, you've got another smoke happening here. It's even daytime, so they've got that additional vision for the catch-out. I'm liking the fact that Aster are positioning themselves around the high ground to make sure that they are able to get that split second of extra reaction time. Let's see if this time they can just run away if they see that Rolling Thunder coming in at their faces, but the Blink Dagger is going to make sure that that's probably not going to happen.
It is very difficult, especially with that Blink Dagger. And he's also got the Basher set up. Like, OP is... He's pretty farmed. You know, he's right there with XSS, but I feel like his itemization is perfect for what they want to accomplish in these fights. Next, Roche is available. Aegis and Cheese, so we'll see. Do Aster want to take this fight, or do they want to just let up the Aegis and fight afterwards? It's definitely a hard decision, one maybe they're not going to have to make as the arena comes through, and now right into the egg, but it looks like that egg's not getting off. Felix Chaba hits the deck. They'll get the kill on a Red Panda, and now they look at the rest with the Rolling Thunder coming in from OP. SCC's trying to stand his ground with that BKB. What can he do here as look at the damage coming in from DD as well as God King. They move forward on this Morphling, gets the bash, and now Chuan maybe trying to help out. They'll buy back on the tree, and the Meld Strikes come through. Chuan taking a lot of damage. There's the Overgrowth from Red Panda. Mana Void, and the damage is there to take out this Aster side. SCCC and Bkop drop. GG is called, and SAG, the underdog, starting it off with a clean 2-0. Very well done.
It was very well done. Well, that team fight, it wasn't the cleanest, to be honest. Like, I feel like the Supernova, it was used out of necessity. Would have got speared into the wall and potentially burst down if not. But again, that Overgrowth not coming out in time. But it didn't matter. All of that net worth that was in the hands of the TA and the Anti-Mage was able to just overwhelm Aster. And, well, they're going to have to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and see if they're able to make a go at it. I think is it either tomorrow or the day after that they have to play this second match? It's not one of these tournaments where, like, one day and you're out, right? So they have the chance to reset their mindset and hopefully come back into it with something a little different.
Yeah, losers match is actually in 2 days. Winners match is tomorrow. No, sorry, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Group B.
Yes, Group B, first 2 matches. Today's the first 2 matches of A, and then I think you've got the A winners and losers, and then the B winners and losers, and then maybe the deciders. I don't know. That's just off the top of my head. But anyway, some exciting Dota happening regardless. And who we got next? I think it's LGD against CDEC, which I'm pretty hyped for.
Yeah, that is being one of those matchups that LGD and CDEC have had a lot recently. I mean, everybody, it's the Ame, like, can he get his revenge? It's always that storyline recently. And CDC, with each passing day, have certainly gotten better, but LGD seem to be on their peak at the moment as they sit, in my eyes, top of the rankings in the Chinese region. So it's a tough task for CDC. It was a tough task for SAG. So they were just able to accomplish the upset 2-0. Can CDC do the same? Like that, I'm really excited for that. Not just because I'm a big LGD guy, but I'm always big on the Chinese region, always big on teams pulling off a nice upset like we saw here with SAG. So
yeah, you got to go for the underdog. It makes it a lot more exciting if they are able to pull it off. But I know you had a little bit of slip of the words, but I think the LGD region isn't even too out of the realms of possibility. Like, it just feels like it's theirs for the taking. They've hit their straps, and, well, they're an ominous presence no matter what tournament they're in.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see, and it'll be coming up next. So LGD against CDC coming up next. Stay right there. We'll be right back. And get yourself something to drink, because it's going to be a good one, and you got to be seated to see it. So see you in a bit.